we spent our long Labor Day weekend doing what we love best, boondocking in the woods in the middle of northern Michigan. But this time we did it with a little bit of a twist. We had another family with us, and they like to also boondock in the woods and with their tent and their kids. And we also took advantage that we both own Jeeps, and so we were able to go out and do some trail riding.
As Jesse mentioned, we are up in northern Michigan. We're actually in the Manistee National Forest. We're in an area where there's actually quite a few National Forest campgrounds and recreation areas. So there's Benton Lake, Shelley Lake,
Nichols Lake,
Mini Pond.
There's the Loda Lake Wildflower Sanctuary.
That's what I was trying to think of. That's actually Loda Lake is actually a big wildflower sanctuary that you can walk around quite a bit and check out trails, the different areas with lots of trails. So it's a really nice area to be in. We had a good time just kind of hanging out and doing different things quietly and just being by ourselves for a lot of it because we were boondocking. But there are some nice National Forest campgrounds here too if you don't want to just pull off and boondock in the woods. But there's also a ton of two-track and trails around here that if you have a four-wheel drive vehicle like we have our Jeeps, it can be a lot of fun. We did a day run. We actually did a night run. So you just see things differently or not see things in the nighttime sometimes. But it was a lot of fun to do that.
Should probably clarify when we talk about Jeeping, at least this area of Michigan where we're at, it's a lot of just forest seasonal roads. They're obviously not maintained in the winter. They're passable by pretty much any regular car, but it's nice to have a little beefier tires or maybe four-wheel drive. If you have like a side-by-side or a motorcycle, there are separate trails for those. But essentially we're talking like two-track forest roads, nothing super technical. You may encounter a few washouts here and there where you have to do a little bit of off-camber situation or just being careful that you don't slide off into a rut. But in many cases there are two different paths that you can go, a little bit more technical side and around a tree side, depending on, if an area has washed out, there's usually another path around it. But a lot of it's really just to get out in the woods and see what you can see and enjoy it. It's just kind of fun. Sometimes there's a few rocks, sometimes there's maybe like a little mud trail if it's been a heavy rain, but I don't know, we just like having a lot of fun, and it's a good way to get, a couple families out and just enjoy a day in northern Michigan.
It was fun for us because a lot of times we have just the van, and while it is four-wheel drive, and we do use it on forest roads, and that's how we go boondocking. That's how we're back in this spot right now, is we took a two-track back here. But you have to be careful about clearance, both underneath and above. So there's a lot of times we'll be out and about and we'll bypass a trail because you're like, oh, we can't get the van down there. The road trek's not going to fit. Sometime we'll come back with the Jeep. So it's nice to be able to do that periodically and just come out and do that kind of thing.
It's also nice being with another family or at least another person in a Jeep, just because in case you do get stuck, if something were to happen, something were to break on the Jeep, or maybe you slide into one of those ruts or just something were to go wrong, it's always nice having an extra vehicle with you. And in our case, one of us has a winch or we have the tow straps or things that in case you do need to use them, you have extra hands and extra equipment that can help get yourself out of a difficult situation.
It is something to consider doing, though, if you have not been to northern Michigan or you haven't been here in a while. There's a lot of different trails out here that can try things. And it can be Jeeps. We saw people on side-by-sides. You get people with ATVs. And like you said, there's dirt bike trails, that kind of thing. So plenty of opportunities to do that. We saw people on mountain bikes that were touring on their bikes. So whatever you ride, you could probably ride it around here. I think we saw people on horses.
Yeah, we also saw the horses out here, too. So they're not all shared use trails. There are certain trails that are designated for certain activities. And in Michigan, at least, there are different stickers that you have to get for your vehicles, depending on if you're an ORV, if you're on a trail or a route or different things. So you do have to pay attention to the rules. But if you're just out on the seasonal roads, all you need is a driver's license and a license plate.
And it was interesting or fun, I guess, to be out here with another family because they camp differently than we do in a couple of ways. And so it was nice to kind of compare how we do things and for me, solidify some choices we've made because they still tent camp, which more power to them. And there are some advantages to that and being able to go down in just the Jeep on some trails we wouldn't be able to do in the road trek. But one night we had a pretty good thunderstorm roll through, and as the rain started coming down, I was glad to just be able to go in the van and close the windows and be done and not worry about it. So that was nice. But there's times when tenting would be more fun too. There's a lot of ways. I know.
I do envy their ability to just go down a trail and find a spot. And when we were picking the spot for the weekend, this is an area they come to frequently and knew a number of different spots to come to, and purposely picked this one knowing that our van could get in here. So they showed us some of the other spots in the Jeep, and we thought, oh, these would be perfect, but there was no way the van was going to get in there.
Right. The other thing, too, is that they do a lot of campfire cooking, which is fantastic. They've got a giant cast iron fry pan and a Dutch oven, and we enjoyed some really good camp cooking because of that. We offered the supplies, and they helped, make everything, and so that was great to have somebody cooking for us, actually. I joked, I said, one of the big things that's missing from our camping accessories is a cook. I need a camp cook.
Yeah, maybe we can get our friends to come with us more often, but I really did enjoy the cast iron cooking over the campfire. I mean, that is something that we have done in previous lives, but I think we're just so used to now our glamping experience that having the Coleman gas stove and our Omnia oven, sometimes it just makes it a little bit easier. It's not so weather dependent.
Yeah, but it was nice. The other thing that it showed me, though, is because there was a campfire going pretty much the whole time, and we have our solo stove fire pit, so we're used to hauling that around, and it really showed for me, wow, there's a lot more smoke with campfires. Even when you're good at it, as these folks are, you're going to have smoke, and you're going to have it periodically a lot more than we have from our solo stove. I did want to touch on the solo stove in this video, because the last time we did one on it was a winter camping video. So we've had it for a while now. We've used it quite a bit, and I personally love it. It's so much easier to get a fire started in it, to tend it, to keep a fire going. You don't have to worry about having a fire pit on the ground or making something on the ground and trying to keep it contained. So it's been great. There's a lot less smoke. Yeah. I just really enjoy it. There are people we know that have them. They'll set up tripods and Dutch ovens, so you can do cast iron cooking over it if you want, and we may look at doing that at some point. But all in all, I like the stove. We've got the accessories, so we have the spark arresters, so when we're out here camping in the woods, I don't worry about it as much. We have the stand that goes underneath it, so you can lift it up off the ground. We use it at home on our deck, and it clearly handles that with no problem. We've got the giant poker that they sell. We've got the tongs. And, for those of you who are looking at solo stoves, there's just 3 different sizes, the Ranger, the Bonfire, and the Yukon. We have the Ranger, so when you see it, it's the smallest one they make. The tongs are probably overkill for that, but they're useful from time to time. I do like having the super long poker. Yep. They come as a set, so it's really up to you whether you think you would need that or not. But I've really enjoyed having it. It fits in the van. It's ready to go whenever we need it.
I will have to say the one benefit of the regular campfire that our friends use, and the one thing that we have talked about that's sort of a negative to the solo stove, is it doesn't cool off, because it's the metal thing. It doesn't cool off super quickly. So we can't necessarily use it in the morning before we're getting packed up to leave, because otherwise it would take too long for it to cool down and we can't pack it away hot. So like this morning, we were able to still have the actual campfire, cook breakfast over it, and then just put it out before we were ready to leave, whereas we had to pack up the solo stove last night to make sure that it cooled down. And I think that that's probably its only major disadvantage, so that when we're out camping, we can't necessarily have that morning campfire before we have to leave, unless we're not leaving till really late in the day. So depending on the campground that we're staying in and checkout time, that's something just to take into consideration.
Part of that depends on how you carry it, though, too. So we carry it inside our van. So we put it in its bag and we put it inside. It needs to be cooled down before they do that. If you were camping with a pickup truck, for example, and you could use it, while it's still maybe not hot, but still kind of warm, and it's too warm to put in the bag, it would probably go in the back of your pickup with no problem. So it's really kind of independent, depending on how you camp. But for us, that is the one downside, I think, is you can't do that. But other than that, I think it's great. I'm really glad that we have it, and I look forward to using it for a good long time now.
There's so many different types of camping experiences, and I think that's what's nice about everybody's different style, whether it's in a tent or a van or a cabin or a Class A or whatever it is, and however you like to travel. And we like going off and doing our own things sometimes, but we had a fantastic weekend camping with our friends. It's, people we've known since middle school practically. Myself and Heather have been friends forever. And, as we've grown up, it's just been nice to stay in touch and get together when we can. And now that, the kids are a little bit older and we can all go out and do these things. And like we said, we both have the Jeeps and we love doing this stuff. So it was just a great weekend to get away in the woods. We all played some card games and board games and just sat around and chatted and made s'mores. And anytime that you can get away and do that kind of thing, that's always really nice. So there's travel camping, and then there's like camping, and there's just so many different styles. And so we just always encourage everybody to get out and try all the different styles and different methods, because, we learned some things, about campfire cooking that I wouldn't necessarily have thought of this weekend, because we do things differently. So, I always enjoy camping with other people to learn something new.
So find some friends and sit around a campfire or a fire pit. One night we had both going, actually. So we had it spread out. We had 2 fires. It was a chilly night. It was great. Everybody was kind of sitting around the one they wanted to sit around. So that was great. But find yourself some friends or another person, or go by yourself. But find a way to get out there and try some camping. Do something different. Maybe push your own boundaries a little bit, right? Do something different and challenge yourself. And I bet you'll find that you'll be really proud of yourself when you do that. And you'll have a good weekend to chalk up and talk about later. So figure out what you can do and get on out there. Keep on trekking.
And we'll see you out there.